So, if you really want to become a writer, here's what you can do: behave from your belief. What do I mean by that? Stay tuned, I'll let you know. Hi, everybody. I'm Ricky Heller from rickyheller.com. I'm a book coach, an author, and an editor, and I help you to finally write that book you've been dreaming of for all this time so you can get it done, get your message out into the world in a way that sounds authentically like you. So, what do I mean by behave from your belief? Well, there's a saying in the world of business, in business coaching, that you should act as if. And what that means is the same thing, that you behave as if you already believe something. You can borrow beliefs from someone else and attach them to yourself. If you're in a position where you want something that isn't true right now, you want to believe it so fiercely that it eventually becomes you. So here's an example of how that kind of works. When I was in my 30s, I was a single woman living in a basement apartment, and all my friends around me were married, starting to have kids, starting to buy their first homes. And I decided I wanted to own a house. Now, I had never owned a house before. I didn't have any down payment. I didn't have enough savings for a house. I knew nothing about the process. But I had this belief that these are people I grew up with, I've known for years. I know they're very much like me. I'm similar to them. If they could own a house, I could own a house. If they could buy a house, I could buy a house. So I believed that I had what it took to be a homeowner. And as a result of that belief and reinforcing that belief, what happened was I began to do more reading around what was involved in buying a house. I began talking to people and asking them what they did. I began telling people that I wanted to buy a house. And so over time, I amassed information and I did all this research and I started to feel it in my bones. I am going to own a house. I just knew it was going to happen. I didn't know when, but I knew it was going to happen. And after 3 years of penny pinching, I had enough for a down payment. I started looking at houses. I ended up doing what they actually suggest you do, which is buy the worst house on the best street possible for you. Bought this tiny little post-war home, had it renovated by a friend's brother-in-law for free. And I was a homeowner. And I believe now, looking back, that all of those pieces fell into place because I just had such a firm belief that ultimately, somehow, I was going to own a home. Well, I think we can apply that to our writing selves as well, right? If you're looking at all your notes and feeling like you don't know where to begin, or if you just have a dream in your heart, but you haven't started yet, you want to be a writer, behave from that belief. What that means is ask yourself, if I knew absolutely without a shadow of a doubt that I were going to be a published writer, what would I be doing today? Right? Because when I knew that I was going to own a home, well, if you're going to buy a home, you've got to look into what it takes. You've got to talk to people and ask them what they did. You've got to get an agent to help you look for a house, or you've got to be reading through all the listings yourself to look for a house. You've got to determine what you want in a home. Where do you want to live? I did all those things. I was acting as if I already knew for certain that I was going to buy that home. And each of those activities led me closer and closer to the point where I really could. In terms of your writing, ask yourself, what are the things I would be doing today if I knew for certain that I was going to be a published writer? Would I be watching Netflix, or would I be in my office writing? Would I be going out and shopping for things just because I'm bored? Or would I be reading books that are going to help me understand the kind of writing I want to do? These are the activities that writers do. And I would start looking at, what do writers do in their day-to-day life? Read about writers that you like. Read about their lives. Read about how they spend their time. Follow writers online. Follow writers on the internet. Read their blogs. Find out what they do with themselves. How did they hone their craft? Did they take courses? Did they get mentors who are other writers? Did they join programs? What did they do? How do they spend their days? Right? And once you start to dig into that, you're going to get a sense of what it's like to be a writer, and then you can actually emulate those behaviors. So even if I'm not a published writer today, I can still sit down every day and create a writing habit. And the more I write, the better I'm going to get at it. And the more I write, the more it's going to feel like an integral part of who I am every day. And the more I write, the less likely I'm going to be to skip it because it just feels like part of my day, like brushing my teeth. If I skip it, something's off, something's weird. I don't feel right. And that's exactly what happens when you do that. And then maybe the next step is, okay, I've got all this amazing writing now that I've generated. What do I do with it? If I behave as if I believed, if I believe that this writing is worthy of publication, what am I going to do with my writing? Then we're going to get into things like revising and editing and sending it out for publication, all those different activities. But you will never get there if you don't start at the beginning. And the way to start, even when the reality isn't there yet, is to behave as if, because that's going to get you to the point where not only are you doing the work, but you're going to feel like a writer because you're acting like a writer and it becomes part of who you are. So I hope that's helpful. The behave as if, it works in so many different contexts, but certainly when it comes to our writing, it can help us to become a more committed writer, a more skilled writer, a published writer. All right, everybody, have a great week. If you want more information, more tips, more details about writing and programs that I offer, just go to rickyheller.com/subscribe. Get on that newsletter list, and you'll get emails from me every Sunday with tips and tricks and stories and information about writing. All right, everybody, have a great week, and I will see you next time.